Coming up next on the Gay News Network, Chinese gay activists defy the communist government while the Discover card denies the service to gay and lesbian businesses on the web. Then be sure to grab your change purses. Drag Freak Bingo is back in the news, inspiring fun and fashionable AIDS charity events from Philadelphia to Seattle. In our latest installment of the Gay Agenda, we'll examine the effect of gay and lesbian media images on young adults, and we'll talk to GLSEN to find out how they keep students in school and safe from violence and suicide. At a benefit for sexual minority youth, reporter Beto Ortiz finds out how to get your pink card by answering questions on gay history and culture, while comedian Suzanne Westenhoeffer hosts the event and leaves them laughing in the aisles.
Straight people are afraid of gay people, and that has always fascinated me too. What do? Do straight people stand around in little groups and go, "Oh my God, Bob, don't go down there. That's a homosexual neighborhood. Oh yeah, don't do your hair."
Finally, in our Washington report, Congressman Barney Frank goes on record in support of ENDA.
I think things are getting better. Prejudice is somewhat on the defensive, but it's got a lot of kick left.
All this and more on this edition of the Gay News Network.
It's light. It opens clogged breathing tubes, refreshes like no other, and you can enjoy it wherever you go. Just listen to what satisfied people are already saying about their lives.
I wouldn't trade mine for anything.
How could it be so without mine?
Well, there you have it. So don't miss out, because life goes with everything.
Except drugs.
A message from a drug-free Navy and Marine Corps.
Welcome to the Gay News Network. I'm Joe Liberatore.
And I'm Holly Landau. Topping our international news, a new group is pushing for gay and lesbian rights in China. The International Chinese Comrades organization is the only Chinese gay rights group in existence, since any type of private organization or publication is strictly forbidden by the Chinese Communist government. A worldwide website will be the vehicle to get the information to gays, lesbians, and supporters inside China. Gary Wu, an exiled journalist, founded the group in San Francisco under the umbrella of the International Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission.
Voters in Poland recently approved a new constitution that includes a clause prohibiting gay marriages and defines marriage as a relationship between a man and a woman. The constitution originally contained a clause on human rights, which included sexual orientation, until the Catholic Church demanded that the clause be removed. The Church also changed the constitution to guarantee the right to religious education in all public schools. The new Constitution of Poland replaced one from 1952 drafted by communist leaders. One of the purposes of the new Constitution is to make Poland eligible for membership in NATO and the new European Union. Because of the Catholic Church's involvement in the drafting of the new Constitution, Polish anarchists and homosexual groups demonstrated against Pope John Paul II throughout his recent pilgrimage to his home country. It was just 1 year ago that German activists also staged a harsh protest against the Pope. Kiss-ins, punk altar boys, and large dancing condoms were all a part of the tactics, according to the Baltimore Alternative.
Following up a story from our last episode of GNN, the Washington Blade reported that the conservative upper house of Tasmania's parliament repealed the state's sodomy law. And in a related story, a sodomy law was struck down by the African High Court in Cape Town, South Africa. This was the first ruling to invoke the protection granted by South Africa's new constitution. Gay civil rights advocates hope the ruling will set a precedent for similar cases in the nearly 60 provinces in South Africa where violations to the new constitution remain. Over 80 countries in the world still have sodomy laws on the books.
Citing biblical law, a traditional chief in the mountain kingdom of Swaziland banned the use of condoms. According to the Associated Press, Chief Jameson Zantanbanfu Maseko of northern Swaziland said using condoms misuses and wastes a man's reproductive fluid and violates God's laws as stated in the Old Testament. However, Maseko was not opposed to women using contraceptive pills. Swaziland's principal secretary said that AIDS and family planning programs would have to start all over again, this time by educating the country's traditional leaders.
According to a Reuters report, San Marino, the smallest republic in the world, voted to repeal laws that prohibit libidinous acts with a person of the same sex. The republic is nestled in the northern mountains of Italy and boasts a population of merely 20,000 people. Under the old statute, persons found guilty of such activity could be punished for up to 1 year in prison.
In Bara, Pakistan, Afridi tribesmen flogged a man and a boy in public after they were caught having sex in a public toilet. After the pair confessed, Afridi tribal elders pronounced punishment. Mohammed Zayman, 38, was lashed 75 times, and Fahimullah, a 14-year-old boy, was whipped 32 times as hundreds of spectators reportedly cheered in approval. The official Pakistani government has been trying to topple the self-styled tribal government with very little success, according to UPI.
When the Swiss government updated its constitution to reflect rights established by court rulings, they left gays and lesbians out. The Swiss Parliament's Constitutional Committee refused to add sexual orientation to the proposed new anti-discrimination clause. The gay groups Pink Cross and Swiss Lesbian Organization lobbied against the refusal and staged a large protest in Switzerland's capital. Members of approximately 35 organizations participated in the demonstration in front of the House of Parliament. This according to the Baltimore Alternative.
Sandals, a gay bar in Ecuador, was recently raided after a well-meaning Catholic group and local residents flooded authorities with complaints of immoral conduct and weekend scandals. Police raided the bar, arresting 10 patrons for not having proper identification, according to Ecuador's El Comercio. 2 of the gay men who were arrested said they were raped in jail, one by another prisoner as guards left, the other by a prison guard immediately following the raid. A newly formed organization of 90 gays demanded the abolition of Ecuadorian penal code, which states in cases of homosexuality that do not constitute rape, the 2 partakers shall be detained for a period of 4 to 8 years.
Turning our attention now to national news, the Discover credit card company has had a policy since 1986 that it will not provide services to sellers of adult products, according to the card's parent company, Novus. Many gay services that offer adult products have had their accounts pulled recently. A gay internet service provider lost its Discover card account because the Florida-based company offers adult-oriented products on its websites, according to the daily newspaper Florida Today. For most internet-based companies, accepting credit cards is the most favorable way to conduct business. Pornography sites on the World Wide Web also use credit cards to prevent minors from accessing adult material and to protect them from laws that prohibit knowingly distributing pornography to minors.
Bucking the status quo, Louisiana recently became one of the only southern states to pass a hate crimes bill. During the same week, New Orleans City Council also passed a hate crimes bill. According to Impact, New Orleans and Gulf Southern News, the New Orleans City Ordinance condemns crimes committed against persons because of their sexual orientation.
After 13 years together, Sherry Barone and Cynthia Friedman believe they had all the documents needed to legally recognize their relationship. Cynthia died in 1994 of cancer. After 3 years, the cemetery where she's buried still refuses to include the inscription "Life Partner" on the headstone. Barone is suing the cemetery based on the fact that she has durable power of attorney for Friedman and also owns the cemetery plot of Friedman's unmarked grave and her own adjacent plot. The editor of the Philadelphia Gay News told GNN that Lambda Legal Defense and Education Fund is handling Barone's lawsuit against the cemetery in what is believed to be the first case of its kind.
The Clinton administration has betrayed women, gays, and lesbians, according to lesbian feminist poet Adrienne Rich. For this reason, Rich turned down the National Medal for the Arts. According to the Washington Blade in a letter to NEA Chair Jane Alexander, the writer explained that she could not accept an award from an administration whose cynical politics are incompatible with the very meaning of art. And as a citizen, she is profoundly concerned about the condition of this society and the disparities of power in it. The National Medal for the Arts was conceived by President Ronald Reagan in 1985.
The Associated Press reported that a man from Boston claimed his right to religious freedom was violated when the state placed his son in care of gay foster parents. The man has taken his claim to the U.S. Supreme Court against the Department of Social Service for allegedly violating his family's deeply held religious beliefs. The child was returned to his biological parents after it could not be proven that they had abused the child. Legal observers expect the case to be rejected by the court.
More than 100 gay-straight alliances have been formed in high schools throughout Massachusetts. Nearly 2,000 gay, lesbian, and bisexual teenagers took part in a march to celebrate these alliances. The goal of the annual Gay-Straight Youth Pride March is to encourage other high schools in Massachusetts to form their own gay-straight alliances. Money raised for the Governor's Commission on Gay and Lesbian Youth will go to the alliances to keep schools safe for gay students with a focus on suicide prevention.
Not since the premiere episode of the Gay News Network have we seen so much drag bingo. You'll remember our pilot episode featured drag freak bingo babes Bet, Bianca, and Babette in Washington, D.C. Since that show 2 years ago, the game has really taken off as a fun and fashionable charity event in gay communities across the country. A successful Seattle gay bingo scene inspired Philadelphia's The AIDS Fund to use gay bingo for fundraising events hosted by drag queen Carlotta. The AIDS Fund also organizes the annual Philadelphia AIDS Walk and looks to the drag bingo games to maintain fundraising throughout the year. Drag bingo games are so popular that tickets sell out in 48 hours, with each game raising an average of about $10,000. The AIDS Fund supports 65 different AIDS service agencies in the Philadelphia and South Jersey region. We hope to see more of the D.C. trio in the future.
North Carolina may soon run out of landfill space if the residents of Hertford County don't learn to recycle. A copy of the popular gay humor book, The Unofficial Gay Manual, Living the Lifestyle, by Kevin Dilallo and Jack Krumholtz, was one of 2,000 other books that Hertford County school officials felt would be better off bulldozed than recycled to public libraries or for others to read. The books were part of 30,000 donated by the international charities. A woman visiting the elementary school spotted the gay manual and called it trash, triggering the massive book burial. GNN recently spoke with the authors of the gay manual and obtained a signed copy of the book, which will be donated to the Hertford County Library.
Coming up next on GNN, the gay agenda and funny lady Suzanne Westenhoeffer. Plus, in our new segment, the Washington Report, Massachusetts Congressman Barney Frank talks to GNN producer Bill Corey about getting active on ENDA.
And gay men and lesbians have failed to understand that simple point. The National Rifle Association does a much better job of getting its viewpoint onto the desks and into the telephones of members of Congress.
Coming up next on the Gay News Network.
I want you. I want to hold you for hours at a time. I want to talk to you until I don't have a voice. Introduce me to everyone who's important to you, your friends, your family. Look at me. I want to spend my life with you. I'll never hurt you. I'll never lie to you. I'll never put you in danger. There's a time for us to be lovers. We will wait until that time comes.
Welcome back. GNN producer Bill Corey went to the U.S. Capitol to speak with his representative, Barney Frank, about the Employment Non-Discrimination Act. Let's hear what the Congress member had to say about this landmark legislation.
Advising people how to move Congress is very easy. Getting them to follow the advice is very hard, and I get frustrated by that. I want gay men and lesbians to take the National Rifle Association as their model, or maybe the American Association of Retired Persons. Those two organizations have a great deal of influence, and you can agree or disagree with the NRA's agenda. That doesn't affect your view of how effective their methods are. You write to members of Congress and you call them, and you don't write to anybody whose name you see in the paper. You write to your representative and your senator. Members of the House and of the Senate listen to their constituents. Not 100% of the time, not on every issue, but one of the biggest impacts on us is what the constituents say. I think things are getting better. prejudice is somewhat on the defensive, but it's got a lot of kick left. And the key will be to the gay men and lesbians and the people who love us and care for us, care more about ending bigotry than the bigots care about perpetuating it. If you ask the average member of Congress today, he or she has heard more from the bigots who want to perpetuate the bigotry than from those of us who want to oppose it. And until and unless we have enough determination and discipline to reverse that, because I think we have the numbers, if we don't immobilize them, then we're not going to win.
Footage from this interview has been produced into a public service announcement series shown at gay and lesbian film festivals and on cable access stations around the country. Already, the PSA called Barney Frankly on ENDA has played in Boston, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and Austin film festivals, receiving much critical acclaim.
Now it's time for another segment of the Gay Agenda.
Welcome to the Gay Agenda. I'm Matt Hutchison. From Rent to In and Out to Oasis to My So-Called Life, we're seeing coverage of gays and lesbians in epic proportions. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. But what's the effect on youth? Are they fairly represented? And do they enjoy the same social safety nets in real life as the characters on screen do? Joining us today to talk about this are Roman FRILLARTE of the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, Martha Pritchard of the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, Nathan Postell IV, a youth board member for SMILE, and Craig Bowman, the Executive Director of the Sexual Minority Youth Assistance League. Craig, we'll start with you. What do you make of all of this coverage?
Well, in some ways it's wonderful. I think that the increased numbers of folks that are represented as gay and lesbian characters on television and sitcoms and the movies is terrific. I think it's created an open, a more open dialogue to talk about the issues that folks who are gay and lesbian are facing. At the same time, it's created some real struggles for many young people. At our agency, we serve about 800 young people each year from all walks of life throughout the D.C., Maryland, and Northern Virginia areas. Unfortunately, some of these kids are really struggling with some really difficult issues. When they're 13, 14, 15 years old and they're watching Ellen with their parents and everyone's laughing, it seems to be, to them perhaps, a real safe time to talk about what they may be feeling or experiencing. In many ways, though, this is something that they can be really detrimental, because it's one thing sometimes for parents to laugh along at something on television. It's a real different thing when these young people come out to them in their living room and talk about something that they're going through. So many of the young people that end up at SMILE, unfortunately, have kind of been brought into, in some ways, the more openness, the safety that's created that we see on television, when that really isn't the case for so many of them in real life.
Martha, I know you're an administrator for a Montgomery County school system. What are you seeing in real life as a result of all the coverage? What do you notice?
The students are finding that while it's wonderful to have images such as Ellen and other adults on TV, that they really don't have any role models for themselves, reflections of themselves on TV or in the various print media that they look at or the internet. There really aren't images of gay youth that they can identify with right now.
Why is that?
I think that there's a variety of reasons. First of all, in historical context, until as recently as 1961, the whole subject of homosexuality really was kept out of movies by the Motion Picture Code. And continuing until this day, we have problems in perceptions of marketing. The 30-something episode debacle where ABC perceived that they were losing advertiser-sponsored dollars, when in fact there really wasn't as big a problem as they had thought. So all of those forces tie together in both historical and in marketing context to reduce the amount of media coverage that you would expect.
Nathan, you came out about 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. How could it have been different when you were coming out?
Well, during the time that I was coming out, you know, these characters that are on TV now, they weren't there 4 years ago.
Right.
You know, Ellen, she's basically new. I mean, at the time when I was coming out, we had maybe Matt from Melrose Place. You know, and this was a 30-year-old white gay male who I could not identify with in any aspect of my life. You know, and I think that when it comes to television and movies, you know, the people who make these shows, you know, they know that there's tons of money behind youth. That's why you have so many youth-driven shows. But when it comes to talking about something as sensitive as being gay or bisexual or lesbian, they don't really want to touch it. You know, I mean, you have parents who are frightened by the subject, and so they don't want their kids to turn on TV and be able to watch it. They don't want their kids to be able to surf the net, you know, and see the type of material.
And what about in school with the internet? I know that a lot of schools nowadays have the internet.
But not all students have the luxury of a computer or internet access, so we need to remain cognizant of that. But those students who do have access to an enormous amount of information, and they also have to wrestle with issues such as filtering software.
Filtering software is keeping out whole sections of discourse from exposure to students, and that's a very negative thing. However, as more and more students have availability of the internet, and as they're able to author their own pages, we're seeing a wide range of things, and gay youth are no exception. For instance, I've seen pages on gay Christian youth. I've seen a page done with the help of a 10-year-old girl who testified before her state legislature about her 2 lesbian moms.
But this filtering software, isn't there some value to it in the sense that it can keep children safe?
I think that we really have to weigh the damage done by the filtering software and damage in the sense of some of this filtering software keeps out life-saving information like safe sex information.
What about weighing that against pedophiles?
Well, I think that some of these issues are real red herrings, and if you're talking about real damage done versus things that on a per incident basis may be wheeled out and seem shocking, and cause parents to want software that maybe they wouldn't already have. You know, there's market forces at work there too.
What's the main theme here, takeaway?
Well, I think Nathan hit on it before. It's really important that young people are involved in the creation of some of these new television programs, that we're asking the young people. I think we've got to have more young people like Nathan and others involved in discussions like this. It's important to have him here, but it's important to have more young people involved in these kinds of conversations. Whenever we start something new at Smile, we always look first to the young people to define the needs, to define the interests. We look to them to tell us what the messages are.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much. All of you had great points today. And hopefully as the millennium approaches, so too will the coverage get a little bit more balanced and a little bit more forward thinking. For the Gay Agenda, I'm Matt Hutchison.
Now for a little fun and games that will be sure to educate people on gay history and culture at the same time.
At a benefit for the Sexual Minority Youth Assistance League, creators of How to Earn Your Pink Card showed how gay and lesbian history could be both educational and fun. They also enlisted the help of funny lady Suzanne Westenhoeffer to keep smiles on everyone's faces. Now let's go to GNN reporter Beto Ortiz with 2 of the game's creators, ROMANUS WOLTER and MARGUERITE ARNOLD.
Well, we were friends for a long time, and we wanted to create a way that we could talk about gay issues in a fun and non-threatening manner, so that's how we came up with the game.
What's the most, challenging part of the game?
The most challenging part is the attitude cards, because it's the strategy card, and you have to decide when to throw attitude or if you're going to keep it for yourself. And it's fun.
How do you start the game? How does the game begin?
You go, girl!
It's like we're all having fun. It's a very close game. We're all throwing attitude, answering questions, and doing truth or dares, and that's a pretty funny outrage. It's a fun game overall.
How do you like the game?
That's fun.
Do you like the attitude cards?
Oh, they're the best part.
How do you win the game?
You have to be in Nirvana with 500 pink points.
How do you get the points?
You answer questions about gay trivia, icons, you throw attitude, and you do fun truth or dares that let you sneak a peek at people's closets.
Tell me one of the questions in the game.
Well, the Stonewall riots were started after A, the Mets lost to the Redskins, B, Judy Garland's burial, or C, a very bitchy brunch.
I guess it's a very bitchy brunch, no?
That's good.
That's good.
But the most pink points are for after Judy Garland's burial.
Yeah.
How close are you to Nirvana right now?
I'm the furthest one away. I have a very long way to go and many points, but it's my strategy.
That's good.
I'm going to wait in the wings and take them all.
Well, actually, when I first joined up with Romanus and Marguerite, they had a template of the game, and it was kind of raunchy. It was fun, but it was raunchy, and I played it with my mom, and she got one of the raunchier cards, and I said, you know, this is not something I need to see my mom do. We want something that straight people can play with us and have fun and open some communications. So we went back and we revamped the board, we rewrote all the cards together, and we took out most of the overly sexual questions.
I hope you left something.
We did leave some. Enough to be titillating. We had the late night version of the cards, which were easy to make because we pulled those out of the original version. And And then we've been talking to folks like Suzanne, who was here earlier, Suzanne Westenhoeffer, about writing a strictly lesbian version of the cards. The board is generic enough that we could have different versions of the cards.
Give me another example of a question.
Another example of a question is you read A, often, B, books, or C, other people.
Go for other people.
Yep, you got it.
Honey, you're well on your way to getting a pink card, okay?
Okay, I want to thank Marguerite and ROMANUS for joining me here and explain how to play the game, how to get your pink card. Don't confuse it with the green card. It's totally different.
Well,
Thank you.
Sort of similar.
Yeah, you've learned about a new culture.
Thank you. This is Beto Ortiz for GNN and Trumpets.
Taking us out of today's show is some additional footage of Suzanne Westenhoeffer. For the Gay News Network, I'm Holly Landau.
And I'm Joe Liberatore. Thanks for joining us.
Now, are you a straight girl? I knew that. See how I knew that? I feel so proud.
15 pink points.
Yeah, 15 pink points. Unfortunately, did you ever make a mistake?
No.
No, come on. Haven't you ever done that? Gone up to someone you are totally sure is gay. You know, he has gay hair, gay clothes, everything, and they're like a straight guy, and you're scared for them, and you like give them a pamphlet, and you're like, look, tell me in a year when you know. You're gonna know, it's just not yet, you know. Sometimes I think really, really little kids look gay. Have you ever been to a playground, seriously, and you just look around and you turn and you go like, oh, jeez. Jimmy, come here. Listen, you're gonna be a big fag. I swear to God, here's some Liza albums. I'll tell you. You'll love them. Oh, we're talking mean about Liza now, they are. Have you heard them talking like, saying she can't remember the lines to Victoria. I said, put some gay men in the audience, they know the lines, okay? I actually did a show once where Gloria Gaynor sang I Will Survive. Remember her? Yeah, right? What gay person doesn't? She started to sing, and 7,000 gay men at this AIDS benefit sang every single word. They paid this woman $15,000 and she never opened her. She's going. And the gay guys are working it. Thus, I was afraid.